Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you from Film Fanatic headquarters. So, hope everyone's doing good. It is officially Christmas Eve, and it is about 10:43. Today is Christmas Eve, so this is going to be a holiday special, Christmas special. I always love to talk about movies around the holidays. The holidays that I love the most, starting with I usually always start with like Halloween being my favorite holiday, my favorite season. I uh, I love climate wise, I love summertime. Summertime, I love the heat. I love warm weather. I love not having to wear multiple layers when you go outside. I like when you if you have to be outside for any period of time, it doesn't get painful and it's not uncomfortable. For me, even with heat, even in conditions of where it's extreme heat, I've never had. It's never been a problem. It's a funny thing because most people I know don't like the heat, and most people I know love the colder weather or can deal with it better as opposed to hot weather. And I don't know, it has something probably to do with when I was a kid. My brother, who has been living down south, for most of his life, we used to, as a family, I used to go down south a lot as a kid. He lived in South Carolina in the Carolinas. He lives currently lives in Tennessee, and he's lived in Tennessee for a long time. Um, he lived in New Orleans for a really long time. So as a kid, I used to always go down to that part of the country, and we would always go down like in around the summertime. What we would be experiencing here in New England, like our summertime or our warmer months, we would always go down. So I don't know. I think it was because I got acclimated really young to being in hot weather as a kid, and I used to love doing that. And I got really, um, you know, I just started to always enjoy. I've always enjoyed the hotter climate. So I always got, and I in places that I visited a few times too. I remember going to like Las Vegas for the first time in July, and it was super hot. And I remember as a kid always going to New Orleans or Louisiana, especially, and being down there and just it being so hot. And I just always loved the whole thing. Cold weather, I'm a fan of snow. Actually, it's hard to believe probably after I've just said that. I'm a big fan of snow. I like. I'm not too big on doing lots of like outdoor winter activities, but I do like the winter kind of atmosphere. The cold does get to me when if it's in the 30s, I can deal with it. But when it gets beyond that, especially the teens or single digits, forget about it. But I do love the snow. So, and one cool thing about living here in New England is that we get to experience, you know, the changing of the seasons. It would be probably a very different reality if you lived in one place and you only experienced cold year round or warm weather. So it's a trade off, and I do like that there is that variety at least. I wish summer was longer here, but it is what it is. And for me, movies have always been synonymous with the holidays. Like most people. Obviously, with Christmas, there's a million movies made in the name of Christmas. Christmas is probably overall the most popular and most universally loved or celebrated holiday. The and But Halloween also, I've seen it grown so much, just within the last 15 or 20 years, to where it's like a massive holiday and people really go all out, decorate, they have parties, I mean the whole thing. And it's not kind of centered on just what I've noticed too is Halloween is not just really centered anymore on the actual day of Halloween, October 31st. It seems to be that whole month. Now people do much more planning around parties and get-togethers, and there's kind of this, like, the whole month it has feels now of October is kind of like Halloween, and there's the build up and the excitement, and people spend a lot more money on decorations and candy and all these kinds of things, as opposed to, like, Halloween's always been a very popular holiday, but as opposed to, like, what I remember it being, what 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 it was like when I was a kid, where it was like focused on the day of or the night of Halloween, where it was like about trick or treating and getting a good costume, finding a good costume, or maybe having your parents make a costume, and that was really kind of it. And Halloween night or the night before Halloween, you would watch a bunch of Halloween movies. But Christmas has always been, of course, the 12 days of Christmas. But Christmas has always been a thing where the whole month of December, even before December, like late November, has been this like celebratory thing where every day there are activities planned a lot of the times for people, and there's an attraction to the whole month of it not just being that day or Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So it's always an interesting kind of thing. Um, and with movies, second to Halloween, I mean, second to Christmas would be the Halloween season. Obviously, there's tons and tons of movies that come out around Halloween season, horror movies, and there are, obviously tons of movies that were made with that holiday in mind. Thanksgiving, it's a little bit different. There's a pretty decent amount of movies for Thanksgiving, but pretty small when you think about it. Pretty minuscule. Even though Thanksgiving, I think, is a really awesome holiday, I do really enjoy Thanksgiving. That is like that month of November is different than Christmas and October. It's more of like the one big day, one and done, and the traveling and all that kind of stuff. But it's a different kind of thing, and there aren't as many films attributed to that. And with Christmas being the most popular, and also the the most flooded market as far as like movies, seasonal movies. There's so many great films. There's so many classics, but there's three Christmas movies that I pretty much watch every year. And so today's show is about the Christmas movies that I always go to and what that kind of entails. For instance, it's pretty, I guess, pretty funny, or shows what a nerd I truly am. But last night I was, and it's funny with me. My relationship to Christmas is like I've always loved Christmas, but with Halloween, as soon as October hits, I'm excited. I'm in the Halloween spirit. I'm totally into it. I'm excited about it, and I'm thinking about it. I start watching more horror movies than I already do, which I constantly watch horror movies. So, but it just revs all of that up for me. I'm even more excited about it. And with Christmas, it's funny. I don't get into the Christmas spirit, if you will, until like a day or two before Christmas Eve. I don't usually even decorate or put up a little bit of a tree or anything until like 2 or 3 days before Christmas Eve. I don't really get into the season. And then as far as shopping for presents, I don't have a lot of people to shop for, so it's a smaller list, which is a little bit less aggravation. But I do enjoy shopping when I get into the mode in the mood. But my typical thing is I don't start Christmas shopping, and I don't do any Christmas shopping until like the week of Christmas, which is, I don't know, it's a male thing, and some, a lot of I've done that before of where I've waited too long, and I'm actually like the day before Christmas Eve and then Christmas Eve itself, right up into the wire, I'm out shopping. And, and then I kind of get in this desperate mode because places are closing earlier and you want to get your shit done and whatever. But I don't really get stressed out about that aspect of it anymore. I actually, when I get in the mood and, in Chris and I have the Christmas, excitement, I actually enjoy that. But I don't, for weeks, I don't really, I'm kind of indifferent to it. It's kind of funny because a lot of people decorate early on, and there's been the whole kind of uh, lots of coverage of Christmas and things around, like people have Christmas parties for their family, lots of businesses, companies have their Christmas parties pretty early on in December. But so example for me, like how I operate, right up until the day before yesterday, I was watching, movies that I normally watch. I've been watching a lot of horror movies, a lot of exploitation movies, and I've been, just doing my normal thing. But then yesterday, or the should say the day before yesterday, I suddenly I wake up and I have the Christmas spirit, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and watch a ton of Christmas movies and get into the whole spirit of things, and that's what happened. So I had a gig last night that got done around 10, and then I came home and I pulled out some movies, Christmas movies, my kind of my go-to list of Christmas movies. I've covered these movies before, but this is I don't know, a little bit of a different take on things. And the three movies that I always go back to, and I've been watching them in succession, and I'll finish them today because I got a bunch of presents to wrap, so I'm going to do that today. So I start off, the three movies that I got um, are The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. These are all movies that I own, of course. I bought this classic movie, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, about a year ago. I got it exactly a year ago. I got it this time last year at Goodwill in Rockland. And I got this on Blu ray, which I was super excited about. Super pumped. I love this movie to death. Can never get enough of it. I'm a big fan of the original. The original, of course, came out in 1966. The thing that I'm always blown away, and I watched this last night. I started watching these movies. I pretty much almost finished the second one. I pretty much finished that one up. But the thing that I'm always amazed by this, and again, when I bought this last year, I had not seen this classic for years, for, probably since I was a kid. And this was like, a regular, thing, as a kid watching every Christmas. It would always be on TV, it would always be on cable. And this is like such a classic. And I was super pumped and super excited when I saw that this was on Blu-ray. And it's pretty spectacular. But the thing I'm always blown away by with this movie is I always forget how short it is. Always forget how short it is. And I threw it in, and I'm like, wait, it's over. It's only like 15 minutes long. It's like it's crazy. And I'm always blown away by that. I always pictured this to be a much longer film. And they made in 2000, and I've only seen it once, and we'll see it again at some point again. But And I thought it was okay, but I remember they made a big budget live action movie with Jim Carrey in 2001 that was a full length featured movie, and I haven't seen it. I remember seeing that in the theater when it came out, and I liked it, but I remember it being kind of, I was underwhelmed by it, and I thought it was a little bit overstuffed. But again, I've only seen it once, and it was directed by Ron Howard, who made Apollo 13, and he's directed some great movies. But it's funny because that's like a regular full length, almost 2 hour movie, and the original's 15 minutes. Like it's crazy, but it's still such a classic. The one cool thing about this version that I have on Blu-ray is that there's tons of special features. There's like 2 hours, and it's way. It's funny because the special features collection is like way longer than the actual movie itself. And again, it's I watched it last night. I started off with this, and I'm like, wow. Before I know it, the end credits come up, and I'm like, it's 15 minutes. But it's such a magical piece. It's I feel like in this age of just disgusting consumerism, the this movie just goes right to the heart of the source of what I feel like Christmas is, and it's great. And and again, I'm not Catholic. I am not. I'm far removed from that belief system, but for me, Chris. Well, that's a whole nother can of worms. But for me, Christmas has never really been, you know, aligned for me, or personally aligned for me with religious aspects. It's always been, for me, it's always been the attraction to all the pretty lights, the aesthetic, the ritualistic aspect of it, the decorations, getting exciting toys when you're a kid, and then also that feeling of if you find a really cool gift for somebody you love or care about, and you find it, and then you get really excited about giving that to that person. That's such a great feeling. And it's also just about having a nice dinner, getting together with your family, and being cozy, and just kind of reconnecting that way. And but for me, it's mostly been about just the aesthetic, the world that is, and it's not really about now where we live in this totally consumer driven mindset around Christmas. So this movie, I think, does such a an amazing job with like just going right to the heart of the source, and it's wonderful. And the other thing, the animation is just so spectacular. The quality of this movie on Blu-ray is just so so phenomenal. Like to think that this movie came out, over 50 years ago is just wild. Like how great it looks. Boris Karloff, of course, the legend of horror. It plays the Grinch, and I mean it's just so amazing. And he still comes across as totally villainous and scary and mesmerizing. Um, just so great. And then after that, I was like, okay, what kind of mood am I in for? Or, what kind of movie do I want to watch after, along, with this little group of movies that I picked out that were, that I could totally consider Christmas movies. And so the second movie I watched, Die Hard with Bruce Willis, a classic, 1988. I uh, I sometimes see this movie. Well, this movie gets talked about a lot, especially around Christmas time. But there's also I always see a lot of people coming out and saying, "Well, Die Hard's not really a Christmas movie." Blah blah blah. It's more of it's an action movie. It just has like some Christmas kind of trappings to it. But I look at this movie like I've seen Die Hard. I've seen this movie so many times, like I can't even count. And this movie is so nostalgic for me. In a weird way, it's almost more nostalgic than The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. But in many ways, I would say it's equally as nostalgic. But so I know this movie like the back of my hand, and I this movie for me is it's there's no questions asked. It's like 100%, 100% Christmas movie, a Christmas movie, and even watching this last night, and it came out in 1988. It stars the amazing Bruce Willis, directed by John McTiernan, who made so many great films during this period. Predator, um, just so great. I did a show on a movie that he did later on in his career, The 13th Warrior, which is such a underrated movie, but an amazing director. The Last Action Hero, um, The Hunt for Red October. I mean, he's made some amazing movies, but Die Hard's probably his best. But anyway, watching this last night, I I am always reminded how much Christmas stuff is in this movie. Christmas themes, Christmas music, Christmas images of Christmas decorations, if you will. It's the whole way through this Christmas stuff, and so I never could understand why there's like a question around it sometimes if it's an action a pure action movie or a Christmas movie. Like to me, it's there's constantly Christmas music throughout the whole movie. There's all these references to Christmas. There's again there's use of where you see decorations and the whole throughout the whole movie. It's such an awesome movie. And I always forget how violent this movie actually is. It's super gory, and but it's awesome. I mean, it's such a great film. Amazing cast. Bruce Willis, of course. Alan Rickman. He's so damn good in it. Bonnie Bedelia, another great actress. Alan Rickman, I kind of feel he plays Hans. The villain, and I always feel like he steals the show. He is the best thing about this movie. And I also really love Reginald the Johnson, who plays Sergeant Al, who is the cop that befriends Bruce Willis's character in the movie. He's so great. He's so likable and just such a fun character. But again, this movie is like to me is the essence of Christmas. I love this movie to death. I don't own it. Like I only have this, which is weird. I do need to get an upgrade. I just don't know why I haven't gotten it. But I do have this. It's pretty standard. It's a remastered version, so it's actually really good quality. It's like a THX remastered version of Die Hard. It's a DVD version. This is the sole and only copy that I have of this movie. Again, it's a real high end quality DVD, so the quality's really good. The picture and the sound are really really great. It would be awesome to see this on Blu-ray or get this on Blu-ray or seeing it or even seeing it on 4K. I'm sure it would be next level and just completely insane. But probably I probably got like 20 minutes left, and I was up till about 2 last night, and I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'm gonna finish it today, and then while I wrap some Christmas presents, which I got to start doing. So super fun, super fun. So next up, at the end of the day, I have to say, all around, the greatest for me, the best Christmas movie ever made, and that is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I have this on DVD. This is my all-time favorite Christmas movie. Again, there's a lot of movies that um, I haven't mentioned, but I will talk about a couple of other films that are not in this immediate list. Because again, there's so many Christmas movies. But I just love this fucking movie. It always cracks me up. I love the humor, and the thing that I'm always blown away by every time I watch it, especially watching it as I've gotten to be an adult and gotten to be older is just how kind of dirty this movie is. It's kind of raunchy. And it's not like today, by, thinking of in terms of, like, say, today's standards, it's not very politically correct. There's a lot of boob jokes, dick jokes. But when I remember, and again, I was raised on watching this movie. I always loved, always loved Chevy Chase in a lot of movies and TV shows. But you know, all of that humor was always over my head when I was a kid. I never got it. So, but watching this now, I'm like, wow, like there's some pretty dirty things in this film. And it's such a great film, and it's so fun. It's entertaining as all hell, and I think, it's super cheesy in a lot of ways, but it still holds up. It came out in 1989, total like slapstick comedy. Great cast: Chevy Chase, of course, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, who plays Cousin Eddie, is just amazing. He's the best thing in the movie. Plays such a scumbag, really, in it. Johnny Galecki, Juliette Lewis is amazing. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is also in this from the Seinfeld days. She's phenomenal in this movie. I just love this movie. It's the greatest for me. In an ocean of so many Christmas movies that are really fantastic, it is my go-to movie. My favorite movie. I'm gonna watch this later today. And I was super excited. I picked this up actually last year. Also, I remember I've never owned it. I've never owned Christmas Vacation, for whatever reason. I've never had a copy of it on DVD or anything. And I remember it was a year ago. I was on my way to go to Opera House Video, and I was craving on. I was going to rent it, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Goodwill in Belfast and just see, maybe I had this feeling, maybe it's going to be there. Maybe they'll sell it. Maybe there's a copy of it to buy. So I went to Goodwill before I went to Opera House Video, and I found this right away. 2 seconds in, I found it right on the rack. It was standing right out front, and I was just like, no shit. And I snagged this up right away. It was only $4. But this is a great package. It's got a lot of special features on here, full commentary track. It's a good transfer, really solid. It would be awesome to buy this on Blu-ray, but I'm really happy with this copy. I was super excited when I got this. So, this is the greatest Christmas movie in my book. Of course, It's a Wonderful Life. Jimmy Stewart. Again, that's an amazing film. I watched that about 2 years ago. I haven't seen that in a long time. I hadn't seen it in a long time before that, and that's a really great movie. Essential classic. Other movies that I think are just really great: The Christmas Carol, which was like a remake of from the movie that came out in the 40s, and the remake that came out is just so phenomenal. Um, George C. Scott, is so awesome in that movie. That's one of my favorites too. I think that's a phenomenal movie. Um, and another one that is pretty funny, but I think it's still a Christmas movie, is Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick. Total Christmas movie, even though the movie is pretty weird and strange and wonderful and magical. It's a Christmas movie. So, there's so many, and I know I'm leaving out, but I wanted this show to be just focused on these three movies these are my go-to movies that I watch every Christmas, and they mean the most to me, and especially this guy here, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Such a classic. So thanks again, and Merry Christmas, and we will see you in 2024. Peace.